Let's be honest. You want to make more money as an Uber driver and as a Lyft driver. I mean, who wouldn't? So in this video, I'm going to talk about the number one way to make the most amount of money driving in 2023. And it's just one word. Short answer, bonuses. That is it. I like getting right to the point in all my videos. I did a video like this a few years ago in the past, and the main thing I talked about in that video was analytics. Track when you drive, see when the best times to drive are. That is still true, but I've noticed that over the years, especially now in 2023, it's way more imperative to talk about the bonuses, and here is why. This is so important because I've interviewed tons of drivers, especially doing this channel, from different parts of the country, different cities. I've even interviewed drivers in other countries and everything, and as you can imagine, I get a very almost polar opposite response when it comes to driving for Uber and Lyft. I find about 25% of drivers love it. In terms of if they had to rate Uber and Lyft, they might rate it an 8 or 9 out of 10. An unbelievable job. We all know the benefits. It's a flexible schedule, instant cash outs, etc., etc. However, I'd say about 75% of the drivers hate driving for Uber and Lyft because there's no denying it. Over the years, drivers do get paid less. But I find this a bit of an asterisk on that, and this is what's very interesting when it comes to these polar opposites, is when I talk to a lot of the people driving who love it, they make insane money. If anything, they make more money than I did when I first started driving in 2015, which I feel like, if you look back on it, was kind of like the glory days, so to speak. And the other drivers, though, on the other end, who don't like it, just absolutely hate it, and they're not making that much money at all. Now, of course, like I've mentioned in a bunch of other videos, your location is the number one factor that determines how much money you can make. But as one huge subset of that, and this is what I've noticed, it really depends upon the city, the area, etc., is the bonuses. Understanding the bonus structures, understanding the different tiers. Obviously, Uber and Lyft does this a bit differently. And remember, too, this is different from city to city. Saying on top of the bonuses, they might text you one morning saying, hey, if you do this and this, you get an extra whatever. And of course, developing your own strategies when it comes to maximizing your bonuses that you get. This is imperative. I remember I was talking to my brother. He's driving right now in Denver. He loves driving for Denver, specifically for Lyft. And he was telling me that I'd say, on average, for like an average Denver driver, about 25 an hour, you say. Maybe 20 to 25, really depends. However, if you focus on the bonuses, and there's a tremendous amount of bonuses, you're looking at 35 an hour. And I'm like, that's a pretty big difference, right? You're talking about an extra $10 to sometimes $15 extra per hour, making $35 an hour on a flexible schedule, pretty great. And this is one thing I've started to do a lot more now. Now, like I mentioned in tons of other videos, and as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, your location really is important. And a lot of times when I talk to some drivers who love it or hate it, I want to figure out where's their location. And over the years, and this was very interesting, at first it made sense. The people who love driving live in a great location to drive. Not surprising. The people who hate driving live in a bad area to drive. Again, not surprising. But then I started to take it a step further, and I would talk to the people who drive and say, hey, just out of curiosity, how are the bonuses here? Even though it's a great area to drive, what are the bonuses like? And almost, I'd say 99% of the time, the person would be like, oh, dude, the bonuses are great. Here's what I do. Here's the different tricks I've developed to get the most amount of money when it comes to the bonuses. Here's what I do every morning. And they would tell me all these strategies they use to maximize their bonuses because that's how they make a ton of money. I mentioned before, I talked to a driver in Nashville who said he made anywhere between $600 and $800 on a Friday and Saturday. I talked to a driver in Austin, Texas, who's making over $100K. In both cases, the bonuses, they bring it up over and over again. When I would talk to drivers who hated driving, and again, remember, your location is important. So if you live in a bad area, that is one thing. But a lot of times I've noticed the drivers who hated driving, when I bring up the bonuses, they're like, oh, yeah, there's bonuses, but I don't know, they're not that good. Or I don't really check them a lot. Or, yeah, they do have bonuses, and I try doing it, but like, it's just kind of confusing. I just kind of drive when I feel like driving type thing. And I noticed a very distinct difference, not just with the location, which again is very important, but when it comes to the bonuses, the drivers who make a lot of money really focus a lot on the bonuses. They know the entire bonus logistics inside and out, all the fine print, all the details. They've developed almost all these hacks, so to speak, like Uber hacks and Lyft hacks to optimize the money with the bonuses. And the people who don't focus on the bonuses don't make that much money, and it's very, very apparent in that case. This is why I think in 2023, I've noticed a very distinct difference that the bonuses are more imperative now than ever before, and is the number one way to make, by far, the most amount of money driving. And that's why I want to do a dedicated video about this, especially for this year, because like I said, I've noticed not just with the location, but over the years, more and more frequently, I've heard of every driver who loves it saying bonuses. And every driver who doesn't love it, never mentioning the bonuses. And if I bring it up, they just kind of say, oh, you know what, I just kind of drive whenever. I drive from this time to this time. And I'm like, oh, well, during that driving time, do you ever pull up the app and look at the bonuses? Do you ever try to figure out a way to make the most amount of money? Do you ever figure out, bonus hacks, so to speak, et cetera, et cetera? And they're usually just like, oh, no, I just kind of drive. And then when I'm done, I'm done. And then just kind of casually go through it. I promise you, if you take a step back and say, okay, I'm just going to take 10, 20, 30 minutes. Doesn't have to be that long. Pull up Uber and Lyft in your area. Remember, sign up with both apps. By far the best way to make a lot of money. Pull up both apps and maybe even take notes. I know it sounds ridiculous, but just kind of look through all the fine print of all the bonuses. I promise you, especially right now in this day and age, as long as you look at those and optimize it enough, that is the number one way, surefire, to make the most amount of money driving.